Hi, and welcome to the healing journey. My name is Miraj, and I'm recording this video rather soon after my latest video where I updated you that after a steady progress of improvement from my initial stress anxiety breakdown, I had gotten worse again. And while I'm still feeling pretty bad and my jaw is still really bad and I like struggle to have full mobility in it and I have a lot of like tension and pains in it. I wanted to make this video on the topic of the real you and the human soul slash the human spirit. Because I think a lot of us are like often or have often in our life, or at least at various occasions in our life, pondered what it means for there to be something like the human soul or the human spirit, or whether there is a real you out there under everything else, so to speak. What it is that your truest wishes and dreams and desires are, if there's a purpose out there for you, whether there's sort of like a unified meaning or what it is that you're meant to do on this earth. And well, in this breakdown, I have pondered that a lot and I thought about that a lot because, well, it feels like you shouldn't be able to feel this bad if you're walking on a path that is true to you, or the path that is true to you. And while a general explanation for why you are like feeling bad is that you like don't live in the present, as some people or some gurus and healers simply say, that you are caught living either in the future or in the past, and that you're specifically caught in living in pastness that is bad, i.e., your bad memories of the past, or futureness that is bad, i.e., your worries and fears and anxiety about the future. And while I think that is true, that causes a lot of like suffering to you, I think like another explanation for why a lot of people suffer is because they feel like they are living a life that is not true to themselves or whom they are, or that they're living a life where the sort of like assigned meaning of that life is not the meaning that is theirs within, so to speak. But this, of course, raises the question, well, is there such a thing as the real you? Because if you're not a sort of like religious person, as I am, I'm not a religious person. If you're like me, then it's hard for you to believe in the existence of a real you because you don't believe in the concept of soul, because you believe that fundamentally we're also just like material beings hardwired by evolution and soft wired by our upbringing. And this, well, is problematic in some sense because it actively contradicts with a real lived experience, the qualia of the feeling that there is a real you that you experience both in your most happy and meaningful induced experiences and what you experience in your worst state. Because I think in those two polar opposite states of being is when you feel the sensation that there is a real you. You feel it when you feel really good in the form of, this is so good, this completely resonates with me, this is what I want to do, this is how I want to feel. And you feel it when you feel really bad, you feel, I definitely don't want to feel this way. And when you reflect upon the life you've led that led you to feeling this way, you feel like it's so filled with bullshit. But moreover, I just think a lot of people who don't believe that there is a human soul and still feel the feeling that there is a real us underneath it all somewhere, while we go through our daily experience. Just we're at a job and we feel like this is not what I want to do with my life, or this is not what I'm meant to do with my life, or this isn't me. But how do we explain that feeling and the existence of real you if we don't believe in a like sort of like the theological conception of human soul, or the eternal human soul, or something like that? And I think here's an explanation that sort of like resonates with me and that helped me a lot, which is that as you grow up, you experience various sorts of situations. And in those situations, you often, almost in every situation, you have a feeling about how you want to act, and you act upon that feeling, and it feels good the way you acted, or you act upon that feeling, or you get told to act in another way, or you have social and expectations upon you to act in another way, and you don't act according to that feeling. And then afterwards, when you sort of like reflect upon the situation, and this may not be like some full deep reflection, but just more like a quick memory glance of the situation, you feel, I didn't want to do that, and if I encounter such a situation in the future, I don't want to behave like the way I did that. I don't want to do the course of actions that I did. I don't want to feel the way I did. But of course, as we grow up, we encounter all of those types of situations where we can't, or we don't act according to what we feel, and we don't change our behavior to a structurally similar situation the next time. Why? Well, because we might fear the social consequences, or the familial consequences, or the relational consequences of our behavior, even if we don't think in those terms. That's what is driving us, right? Anxiety and fear is regulating our behavior from acting in the way that we intuitively felt. Now, what this does then is that this creates a specific version of you, right? Because if you, every time, or if you, when you were young, you encountered a situation where someone was bullied, for example, you weren't bullied, but you saw someone being bullied, and you felt like you wanted to stand up to the bullies and sort of like help that person. But your mom had told you not to do this because you shouldn't interfere with other people, and it's best to be on the outside observing and to be left alone, and it's better to observe someone else bullied than risk being bullied yourself, and it's better not to make any enemies, and hence you chose not to behave in this particular way, for example. Then you're having anxiety about doing what you actually want, and that anxiety and the threshold for you doing what you actually want in any structurally similar situation afterwards is going to increase. And now that means that there's a part of you who is always there, but never get to spring forward. And this type of situation, and the way that situation affects you in terms of repressing what you actually wanted to do, and how that creates an alternative version of you who's now continuously doing something which or continuously reacting to a situation in a way that is not natural to them, in a way that is not intuitive to them. Those types of situations are literally thousands in a human's life before they are 25 or before they're 20. And using this realization that we, as we grow up, experience so many situations where we actively act against what we actually want, and then create an habituation of acting in that way in every similar situation, helps us make sense of the concept of the real you, right? Because there is a real you underneath all of that. And the real you is the you that was sort of like suppressed by human society, or by your relations, or by your conditioning from when growing up. And that, I think, is the best answer I have reached, at least to the understanding of the human soul, the human spirit, and the real you in a way that isn't contingent upon the existence of something theologically divine. And this realization has actually helped me, and perhaps it can help you too, because this way you can begin to believe in the concept that there is a real you, because if you don't believe in that, then you will never look for it, and if you never look for it, then you will be constantly just wondering why you're feeling bad in situations and feeling like you're doing something that you're not meant to do, because then you will feel that way, but then you will think, oh, but what does it even mean to feel that way? That's not a feeling that makes sense because it doesn't map onto anything real. But moreover, I think with this realization in mind, hopefully you, like I have started doing, can also start figuring out who the real you is beneath it all, right? Because this gives us a clear pathway for figuring that out, right? Which is reflect upon the situations where you have this clash, where you almost feel compelled to do one thing, or you feel that doing one thing is the rational thing, or doing one thing is the thing that on a cost-benefit analysis makes sense, but simultaneously you have this super strong gut pull, this instinct, this intuition, this call from the void inside you to do the opposite of that. And in those situations, and recognizing those situations, and then working and trying to habituate yourself to responding not to the rational or to the cost-benefit analysis or to the material expectation or to the social conditioning, but instead to what is calling on from within you. I think that is the first way to begin to like reintegrate the human, your soul and your spirit back into you, and the first way to find who you really are and who you're meant to be. And although that path is long, as I have discovered or am discovering, I think it's a path worth undertaking, because I think in the future, that's A, just going to make you feel a lot better if you live in life in accordance to what you actually want. And B, isn't that like what life is supposed to be about, living in a way which is like true to yourself? And of course, one can at this point ask, well, this sort of intuitive reaction from within us, from within our hearts, this call, where does that come from? How does that originate? Is that the same in person? Does it differ? And what's that all about? And all I can say for now is that that is a topic for another video. But I hope this was helpful to some, if you ever see this, because this concept of the real you and how we can think about it was indeed helpful to me.